Hello everybody and welcome to the first in the Driving Sustainable Change series. The series is about talking to businesses across the wedding industry about their experiences in developing their sustainable businesses and championing sustainability. Today we're going to be talking to Fleur Record Smith, the founder of Hayne House and a Sustainable Wedding Alliance ambassador. Hi Fleur, welcome along. Let's start by you introducing yourself and telling us a bit about you and Hayne House.
Good morning. Hi, so my name is Fleur. I run a wedding venue called Hayne House. We're based in Kent. I've been running this venue for about 10 years now. And the venue itself started as a bit of a project. It used to be our family home, which I took on to make it, a wedding venue, and it's sort of been a bit of a labour of love ever since. So started the venue quite small, growing it. We started off with a marquee and slowly building it into the venue it is today. And I guess our biggest, boldest step to becoming, a more sustainable venue was when we sold off our marquee in 2017 and built our new orangery, which is obviously being a completely modern building, dream in terms of efficiency, in terms of building. And today, our focus is very much to the next chapter of Hayne House is to, do what we do, but do it better in a more sustainable way. So that's, I'm guessing, why I'm here today to talk to you about our story.
That's amazing. So what made you make the decision to get rid of the marquee and build the orangery? What was the sort of changing point for you?
So I think for me, I think like many people, it started on a very personal level. So I was already on a personal journey. And, I'll be honest, I wasn't necessarily the most responsible or sustainable minded person, not even that long ago. But I think what changed for me, like for many people, was when I had children, and then suddenly I started to look on a personal level at things a little bit differently. And I think I had with my husband a little bit of a light bulb moment. We're trying to pinpoint as to when really things started to change for us as a family, and it was Christmas time with. We just had our second child, and our eldest child was 1.5, and her second Christmas. And we just found ourselves at the end of the day with a ton of presents. I mean, lovely presents, lovely, fun, silly stocking things, but a lot of the things that we knew would not be used again, and piles of wrapping paper and food. And we were just thinking, this is excessive. There's something about our consumption that actually all our little baby wants to do is play with the packaging. So actually we need these things. And then we started to think, we're living in excess, and there's something not quite right about how we're consuming. And then I think from then on we started to ask ourselves questions more about where these things were coming from, and then more importantly, where these items were then going afterwards, which then leads you on to look into climate change and sustainability. And then, I think from a personal level, I came then to the realization that if we continue to consume as we do and live as we are, I think all the, the important things that are so important to me and to many of us in terms of, nature, wildlife, biodiversity would not necessarily be around as we have them today for our children. So I think then we realized, okay, we need to start making changes. So we started that on a personal level at home. And then for a while I had a bit of a mismatch between what I was doing at home and, tackling all our waste and our single-use plastic, and then what we were doing at the venue. And of course, yes, we were recycling, we were being responsible, but I then realised actually all these things that we're doing at home, they can be replicated at the venue. And, weddings are clearly very wasteful. We all know that. They are an indulgence. And as a venue, we really see everything that comes in, lovely, beautiful, pretty things that come in for the day. But we know they'll either get forgotten or they won't get used again. And, there's just too many, there's a lot of waste and a lot of overconsumption. So I started to then think how I needed to reconcile where I was on a personal level with what I did, and sort of bridge that gap. So I started opening up a conversation with my team, and it was actually another Christmas. What was it? Christmas, you have these, you start thinking about things. And I got the team the book about how to give up plastics by Greenpeace, which is like a really good introduction to single-use plastic. And in fact, I gave that to my whole family, which I think it's ended up in most people's toilets, but I'm sure they read it. And I gave them all a little bees wrap, to replace cellophane in their packed lunches when they came to work. And I thought, they're going to think I'm a bit weird this Christmas. But you know what? It opened up conversations as to what we can do at home and then how we can bring it into work. And the team were, as me, really interested into, all the small changes that we can make on a personal level. How can we bring these into the venue? And, it's clear that in terms of procurement, things like that, on a commercial small business level, not everything is in place in terms of products, plastic-free products, etc. There's still a lot to be done. So it opened up conversations as to where do we find this? Well, how can we do this? And then, gradually we all became really engaged. And that's, we've gone from, tackling, doing things more sustainable to in January, as a team saying, right, let's commit to net zero. Let's really take this to the next level. So it's been an interesting, exciting journey to date. So that's
it's fantastic. I've obviously spoken with your team before, and they are so enthusiastic and they really understand where you're going with sustainability, and they're so on board and pushing that agenda as well, which is so exciting to see that actually they are so committed to it, as part of everything that you're doing, or and talking to couples about it, and really opening that conversation with suppliers and couples. So it's great to see it's not just you sort of leading it, actually everybody is really involved in it and coming with ideas and bringing things forward, which is, it's so great to see when that happens and the enthusiasm spreads across the wider team.
Definitely, yeah. That's that's one of the things I tell people the most is, if you're putting in place a sustainability strategy and you're serious about it, then engage the team, because it's there's lots of challenges to be met, and actually we're all starting at the same level. So, and every single person, whether it's your marketing or the person on the night who's clearing away the waste, if they don't know exactly how to do the recycling thoroughly, they don't know how important it is to you, then you start to have gaps in your in your plans. And everyone is just genuinely pleased to be involved, pleased to make a difference. When they come to work, they're doing their job, and on top of that, they're making a difference. So, it's that would be my advice to any business, any venue, or looking into becoming more sustainable. The more you share, the more you all learn, and the more you all be engaged. So that's definitely the biggest thing I've learned.
Yeah, definitely. So you were talking about, obviously the marquee is no longer, you have this beautiful orangery which is really energy efficient, and I believe is heated with the air source heat pump.
Not yet, in October.
Soon.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about the other strategies that you've put in place and things that you've done to take the business from where it was to where you are now and where you're going.
Cool. So, well, we started with recycling, obviously, and that in itself, in terms of how we were recycling and maybe a couple of years ago to now how we're ready to start this season, we've come a long way. So of course we started by increasing our the range of recycling that we could do, like different bins, etc. But where we've really had to work harder in more recent years and months is to really drive the behavioural change behind that. So it's great having the facilities, but it's really making it easy, like dead easy for everyone on site to know that that item goes in that bin. So that's even if it's a casual cleaner coming in or a casual waiter coming in, that they know what goes where, and really driving change on the ground. So that's been, refining our recycling strategy is actually has been quite a long process, but obviously people like you, Michelle, can help people speed that up. Obviously, we tackled then quite early on single-use plastics. So because of the B&B aspect, of course, we had, the little single-use toiletries. So we got rid of those, and then we started, and that was actually quite a big task, reviewing all our procurement for a better version of what we had. So, for example, individually packaged cereals, or our bread and butter condiments, and all those, everything, our loo roll, trying to find an alternative that doesn't come wrapped up in plastic. And it has taken us a little bit of time to review literally every single item that we buy and do it better. And it's taken a little bit of time to put that into place, and we've had to shop slightly differently. So yes, we used to get everything from a wholesaler, wonderful, but everything was wrapped in plastic. It wasn't great quality, things were being wasted. So we've had to put different things in place. But the positive of that is once it's set up, we've not only started working with local people and opening up discussions with them as to how we can do better things and they can do better things. And so we're supporting more local and, discovering all sorts of new products. So that's been really worth doing and makes a big difference as to all our consumables. And then once we did our commitment to net zero, then of course we started to look more, more closely at our emissions. So we looked at our energy efficiency. So, you can do easy things like changing your light bulbs with LED bulbs. And it sounds obvious, but, whilst we had them in the orangery in the house, we didn't necessarily have them. So it's just replacing all of those, swapping to a green energy supplier, which, can take time because you can be tied up in the contracts, and that's such an easy switch. But if you're doing that, make sure you do your research and you're switching to a 100% renewable energy supplier. And now we're looking at the more long-term things, such as replacing windows. So we started to replace the back of the windows of the old house, because again, the orangery is super sustainable. In October, it'll be basically carbon neutral once the heat pumps in. But the old house, still we need to replace windows, we need to insulate rooms bit by bit. So we're kind of starting on that, gradually planning and investing in those things. We also have a rainwater harvesting system. So we currently collect the rainwater from our surface drainage from the pumps from the house, and that waters one aspect of our lawns. And we are now, after last summer when it was just so hot, we quite realised that one tank wasn't really enough. So we're adding now, and we're now collecting the water from the orangery, which will not only do another section of the lawns, but also go back into the orangery toilets to flush. So that sounds very high tech, but actually it's, so that's quite exciting. And I have yet to find out how much it will save, but all these things make a difference. And I think really it's just giving thought to every decision we make, everything that we buy, every post that we make on social media, giving everything thought that what we're doing it and how to do it better. So, and also accepting not everything is perfect yet. So for example, recently we've been trying to amend our drinks packages, and we're really lucky because where we are in Kent, we've got amazing wineries all around us. So we're trying to incorporate local wines into our house wines, but there isn't quite enough there yet to make the whole, and there's not enough demand yet to make the whole house package completely British wine. So we're adding bit by bit, and we're thinking, well, okay, if we have to have a trade-off and we have to have a non-British wine for our red, for example, then let's source that as close as possible. So maybe France or Italy, and let's go organic. Then, okay, it's not a perfect solution yet, but we feel for now it's an improvement, and when when we can improve, then we'll improve again. So I think it's just constantly that thought process, which is challenging, but also I think the team again love it because we're constantly trying to find ways to do things differently. So yeah, I could go on for hours, but those are the main changes, as well as driving, giving our customers better choices and working closely with our suppliers. So yeah, still plenty to do, but little step by step.
It's really interesting to hear you say that you are making some changes to your wine list, and it's not perfect yet, but you're still making those changes, and actually it's a road, it's a journey. So we talk a lot about the sustainable journey and it being a process, and that's exactly what it is. You know, a lot of people are scared and quite daunted about the prospect of, you know, jumping into the world of sustainability, and it's quite scary to them, but actually it's better to do something small now and it be imperfect than to sit and wait until there is a perfect solution, because, you know, lots of small changes do add up. And, you know, it's so great to see that, you know, across the industry we're talking to businesses, whether it's venues or planners or caterers, that are now starting to take those small decisions that are actually going to really impact the way they run their business, but also run the weddings as well. So it's great to hear another person talking about, you know, it might not be, but it's there. It's a journey. You're on the road.
Yeah, just about being honest about where you are, because wow, we still all have a long way to go. But that's part of the challenge, and that's part of, you know, learning together.
So you say challenge. So tell us what has been your biggest challenge. So what have you or the team found most difficult when trying to move to be more sustainable?
I'll have to be really honest in terms of challenge. For me, being brutally honest, the biggest challenge for me was actually realizing that there was a sustainable way to operate as a wedding venue, and that the industry could be sustainable. I have to admit, a year and a half ago, which I was genuinely wrestling with the idea of where I was and my beliefs and how I needed things to change and what I did as a business. And I really, if someone had said to me a year and a half ago, oh, when are you going to be net zero? I would have said, well, it's impossible. How can a wedding venue, look at all the stuff that comes in, and we can never be net zero or as sustainable as I'd like to be. So I was really wrestling internally as to thinking, okay, I mean, are people going to eventually start questioning the indulgence of weddings and get married less, or people going to scale right back? And I was having some existential questions, but actually, you know, now, you know, having had actually the headspace with COVID to think more deeply about this, I've also gone and studied about the subject, speaking to people in the industry, and then obviously found you, Michelle, and now I genuinely believe that, yes, there is definitely a way of, you know, I can now have a vision of Hayne House, a sustainable venue, a fully sustainable venue, and of course, you know, and how the industry as well can play its bit. You know, everyone can do their bit to be sustainable. So that was, and without even realizing that now with hindsight, I now see that was a big challenge to overcome. But of course, that's now led to a whole new set of challenges, because now I've realized, great, we've got our plan, we will be net zero, we'll be a fully sustainable venue, and we will do everything we can to get there, but we can't do this on our own. And that's the next challenge. And that's why, you know, it's so great that the Sustainable Wedding Alliance has now launched. The next challenge is, right, well, we need to work with all our customers to give them better choices, and we need to work with all our suppliers, everyone else across the industry. And as an industry, we can do it, but the next challenge is working with the industry and us all working together to achieve that. So yeah, more challenges ahead, but I'm now fully confident, which is, you know, I hope that will encourage other venues to, you know, to realise that it's definitely achievable. And, you know, having been through that process, identifying what we can do, what we need to do, means that we can achieve it. That's really exciting in itself. So weddings are still here for the long term. They just need to be better.
Yeah, and, you know, again, I think you as a business owner, you know, that challenge of getting into that mindset, getting over those sort of barriers that you sort of put there for yourself. I think there's so many people that are going to be watching this that feel exactly the same way, particularly with, you know, parts of the industry, you know, venues and caterers. They, you know, a lot of businesses out there think, well, actually it's not possible for us to be sustainable, but actually it really is. And those small steps, and, you know, taking that first step of, you know, speaking to somebody about, you know, what could we do, what could be the first thing we could do, you know, just making one change then will lead to another and another and another, and then, you know, before you know it, you're on the road to becoming.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So no, it's doable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, hopefully, yeah. We're determined.
So on that note, what would you say, what would you give as your top tip for a venue that wants to be more sustainable but just doesn't know where to start? What's the first thing that they should do? What's your top tip?
So I might give a few tips if I can, but the top tip I would say, so, and I think that having learned from what I just shared as what I found was the most challenging, so the top tip would be for me to start planning now. So by that I mean, if we want to still be, you know, here and, you know, as a business and as an industry, we're going to need to be net zero by 2050, and really a lot before. So the more time we have to plan that transition, the more we can make it a smooth transition, and actually, being really honest, an enjoyable transition. And when we committed to net zero in January, the first thing we did, and we wanted to do it ourselves, but now luckily for other venues, Michelle is here to the rescue with, you know, helping people do their plan and really taking a little bit of time to assess where our emissions come from, how we tackle them, and set our targets. You know, meant that what seemed impossible and daunting not that long ago is now broken down into measurable chunks, and also we can see the progress year on year. So, you know, my advice really would be look into this now, because, you know, change is going to happen, and it's best to have more time to look into it and to plan for it better than be catching up afterwards. And, you know, at the end of the day, you don't really want to be the last venue, you know, transitioning to be sustainable. So it makes sense to start that now, and to, you know, there are plenty of people out there that want to share and help. So, you know, now's a good time to look into it.
Great. Do you have any more tips? You said you were not.
I have many more tips. Depends on when you'll cut me off eventually. If I could share a few things which I found really helpful. So, you know, if I want to help other venues, I would, you know, like to share them. You know, another one is just be honest and be realistic and accept, you know, there is no quick fix to this. You know, it's not about competing to, like, oh, we'll be net zero by 2025 or 2026. It really is by being honest as to, wow, okay, this is where we're at. We want to change this. This is where we're going to do, you know, what we're going to do. Accept and be open about the fact that you're not perfect, as we've discussed. You know, I think that's really important, just sharing your journey honestly, and, you know, being open to couples that we still have a long way to go, but we're trying our best. I'd also say, it's, as a venue, if you can help, or, you know, in a wedding industry professional, if you can help your couples make better choices, by perhaps, you know, if you're doing a shoot for promoting, perhaps giving a bit of thought as to what products or services you're promoting, or, you know, without forcing change, perhaps giving them better options where they don't necessarily see there's a compromise, you know, because so that they see actually it's easy to make switches to be more sustainable. So I think helping our couples do that is really important. And it's the same with suppliers, you know, opening up a gentle conversation with suppliers. You know, have you thought about, could you do this more sustainably? Or have you even, you know, now that we have the Sustainable Wedding Alliance, it's saying, oh, have you heard of that? And maybe you could go for the accreditation. You know, again, just opening a conversation with them, I think, can go a long way, because they'll go back and think about it. And, you know, I think, you know, that's that could, you know, that's definitely what I would say is an important tip. And then I think also what I touched on earlier, engaging the team, that has been the best bit for us in terms of a team coming together, and we're all genuinely really enthusiastic and really motivated to put a great sustainability plan in place, and everyone wants to do their bit, and that's definitely the best bit of the journey. So involve your team, and then you have a coherent strategy with your couples, with your suppliers, and internally as well. So lots of tips, and yes, so that's what I wanted to share today.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much, Fleur. It's been so interesting to hear you talk. You know, obviously we talk quite a lot about the industry and getting it to be more sustainable, and that's really what this series is about, talking to businesses that are in that journey, are in that process, and really champion sustainability, to show people that, you know, it can be quite scary at the beginning and you might not know what first step to take, but actually there are a lot of businesses out there that felt just the same as you did maybe 2 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago. And we have a really good opportunity now, restarting in the industry, to really push that change, and, you know, to really all think about how we can build back more sustainable. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's been fantastic, and the video will be available on our YouTube channel, so it will stay there so you can pop and watch it anytime, and we'll be releasing another video in the series very soon. So thank you everyone for watching.